Hollywood speechless as Rob Schneider exposes Ellen DeGeneres' dark secrets. This is what happened when Rob Schneider sat down on Megyn Kelly's show and refused to stay quiet about Ellen DeGeneres, her very public collapse, and the Netflix comeback that managed to make the whole situation considerably worse. Nearly 2 decades of daytime television built Ellen DeGeneres into one of the most protected names in the industry. 19 seasons, a brand centered entirely on kindness, and a Hollywood establishment that worked hard to keep that image intact. And then, the cracks started showing, the stories started surfacing, and the people who had stayed silent for years began to talk. Rob Schneider decided he had something to say about all of it, and Megyn Kelly's show gave him the platform to say it. Here is everything that actually happened.
Her show got canceled after she had this testy exchange with Dakota Johnson, where something happened where Dakota said, I had this birthday party, and Ellen said, well, why didn't you invite me? You didn't invite me. And she said, no, I did invite you, Ellen. That's not what happened. And Ellen had blown her off and then tried to play the victim on the set with her. Anyway, it led to article after article of people being like, Ellen's a bitch. Ellen is a nasty person. And all these staffers started to come out, not for nothing, but I know a guy, I know him very well, whose sister worked for her, who said, you were not allowed to make eye contact with Ellen in the halls of that show. If you saw her, this is not a nice person. So she eventually got canceled, but now she's coming back. She's got a Netflix special. That's the right response.
Yeah.
She's got a Netflix special. And here's the capper. On the promo, and apparently there's now articles out about from people who have seen the preview, she plays the victim. And she says, poor me. And she actually has the nerve to say that she was run out of...
A single interview moment set the collapse in motion. And it started with a birthday party. During a sit-down with Dakota Johnson, Ellen joked on camera that Dakota had never invited her to her birthday celebration, playing it for laughs the way she always did. Dakota did not play along. She pushed back immediately, telling Ellen directly that she had in fact been invited, which meant Ellen had blown off the invitation and then tried to perform the wounded friend routine in front of her own studio audience. That exchange went viral almost instantly. And that's when the tone of public conversation shifted. Viewers who had spent years accepting Ellen's persona at face value started looking at old footage with fresh eyes. Articles appeared, and former staff members came out of the woodwork to respond to them. One of the most repeated details surfacing during that stretch came from Rob Schneider himself, who told Megyn Kelly he personally knew someone whose sister had worked on the Ellen DeGeneres show. That account described a workplace where employees were forbidden from making eye contact with Ellen in the hallways, where looking up when she walked past meant trouble. Schneider called Ellen disingenuous on air, and he did not soften it or walk it back. What turned a cluster of individual accounts into a full-blown public reckoning was a single question posted on social media. One user asked people to share the wildest things they had ever heard about Ellen treating people badly, and thousands of replies followed almost immediately. One post in particular picked up enormous traction, coming from someone who claimed to have worked at a restaurant that regularly served Ellen. According to that account, Ellen allegedly drafted a letter to the restaurant owner complaining about an employee's chipped nail polish. And the key detail that made the story land was that the polish was not anywhere near her food. It was simply on the employee's hand. The person who wrote the post noted they had worked a closing shift the night before and nearly lost their job over it. Whether every individual story that appeared during that period can be confirmed is something nobody could fully verify. But the sheer number of similar accounts from unconnected people created a conversation that proved impossible to shut down. More former employees went on record, more articles ran, and the show that had once set the standard for daytime television became defined almost entirely by what allegedly happened behind its cameras. One clip from years earlier took on a completely different meaning once people started revisiting Ellen's interview history. Back in 2008, Mariah Carey sat down with Ellen while she was pregnant, a fact she had not yet shared publicly, and Ellen pressed her repeatedly to confirm the pregnancy live on television. At one point during the interview, Ellen offered Mariah a glass of champagne, framing it so that refusing the drink would function as a confession in front of the entire audience. Mariah spent the interview visibly uncomfortable, redirecting the conversation every time Ellen circled back to the topic. The reason that clip landed so differently years later was what came shortly after the taping. Mariah suffered a miscarriage. In interviews from 2020 and in her published book, Mariah described how pressured and uncomfortable that moment had made her, and she has returned to it more than once when discussing the experience. Schneider and Kelly went through the segment in detail on air, and for a lot of viewers watching their conversation, it reframed what they thought they understood about Ellen's approach to the people sitting across from her. The personal stories were damaging enough on their own, but the formal investigation that followed added a level of documented weight that was much harder to dismiss. More than 36 allegations surfaced from former employees, directed not only at Ellen, but also at 3 of the show's executive producers. And the numbers attached to specific names were hard to overlook. Kevin Lehman, who served as both head writer and executive producer, faced more than 10 allegations. Ed Glavin, another executive producer, faced 5 allegations involving inappropriate physical contact with staff. Jonathan Norman, the third executive producer named, was accused by 1 former employee of serious misconduct, with 3 additional employees stating that the person had told them about the incident when it occurred. Warner Media launched a formal investigation into the allegations, and the result was that Ed Glavin and Kevin Lehman were fired, with Jonathan Norman also departing the show. Ellen addressed all of it publicly at the season 18 premiere in September 2020, telling the audience she was sorry to those who had been affected and taking responsibility for what happened on her show. A large number of former employees left that statement, feeling like it fell well short of what the situation called for. When Schneider and Kelly worked through all of this on air, their central argument wasn't simply about what Ellen had done, it was about her consistent refusal to genuinely own any of it. Kelly pointed to Ellen's estimated fortune, pegged by Forbes at around $450 million, and argued that a figure like that made it genuinely difficult to frame Ellen as someone who had been victimized by the entertainment industry. Schneider backed that up and went further, saying he never detected any real humility in Ellen's public responses throughout the entire period. Kelly's core position was that Ellen hadn't been pushed out of Hollywood. She had generated a situation serious enough that continuing the show became untenable, and those are not the same thing. Kelly also took direct issue with what she described as Ellen positioning herself within a broader narrative about how women in show business are treated unfairly, pointing to the realities of Ellen's wealth and lifestyle as context that made that framing difficult for most viewers to accept. Late 2024 brought Ellen's Netflix comedy special called For Your Approval, and rather than drawing a line under the controversy, it poured fuel on it. Hedda Muscat, a producer with direct experience working alongside Ellen, spoke publicly after the special aired.
The essence of the special really was totally a lie.
And did not mince her assessment. The essence of the special, she said, amounted to a lie. Ellen, in her view, took no real responsibility and sugar-coated everything that had happened. Inside the special, Ellen described her former talk show as a family environment where everyone laughed constantly and had fun together, which meant her characterization sat directly against accounts from people who had worked there. Muscat described the atmosphere not as a family, but as one defined by fear. And here's the thing that critics kept returning to. Watching Ellen joke her way through the controversy just a few years after delivering what had appeared to be a tearful and genuinely remorseful apology made the original apology feel like a crafted performance rather than anything real. Schneider put it plainly on Kelly's show, stating that people who are truly remorseful do not then climb onto a Netflix stage to play the victim and frame it as a comedy special. Long before the workplace controversy, during a quieter stretch of Ellen's life, she and actress Anne Heche were in a relationship that ran from 1997 until 2000. Both of them described the split as friendly at the time, and for years that was largely the end of the public story. Anne told a very different version much later. In interviews, Anne alleged that Ellen had been deeply controlling throughout their time together, and she further alleged that after the relationship ended, Ellen used her standing in Hollywood to actively make it harder for Anne to land work and find opportunities. Anne described it as sitting on the truth for 20 years before feeling ready to speak openly. And when she finally did, her words were direct. Ellen's position, offered in response, was that she had no idea why Anne had ended things between them. Anne's answer to that was equally blunt. She ended it because Ellen's goal was financial success, and hers was love, and those two goals had no path to meeting. Anne Heche passed away in August 2022 following a car accident in Los Angeles at 53 years old. When the Ellen DeGeneres show wrapped its final episode in May 2022 after 19 seasons, Ellen and Portia de Rossi relocated to the United Kingdom and stepped away from the public eye in a way that felt deliberate. The Netflix special was supposed to mark the beginning of a return, a way of putting the story on her own terms. What it actually did was reopen the wound and give critics, former employees, and online audiences a fresh reason to relitigate everything. According to Deadline, Ellen is expected to return as the voice of Dory in a new Finding Nemo short film, which would mark her first significant connection to a major Hollywood project since the controversy reshaped how the industry and the public see her. Whether audiences extend the separation between the animated character and the person voicing her, or find they no longer can, is something only the response will reveal. What Schneider and Kelly made clear across their conversation is that the audience hasn't forgotten, the former employees haven't moved on, and a Netflix special built on self-pity delivered from a polished stage answered none of the questions people actually wanted addressed. The real question circulating isn't whether Ellen can find her way back into the industry, it's whether she has ever genuinely understood what she needs to answer for before that conversation can even begin.